Hello everyone, I'm Katrina and today I'm going to be sharing with you all of the books that I received in the month of August. Before I dive into the haul, I did two unboxings this month. One was for the Illumicrate box, which came with one finished copy and one art, and I also received a sampler pack from Fierce Reads. So if you're interested in taking a look at those unboxings, they will be linked in the description. I have things to do and people to see, so I've got to be kind of quick with this video, so I won't go into a huge amount of detail with all of the books, but let's jump straight in with the book that I received this month from work. I work for Bloomsbury and we will be publishing this book early next year. So this is an advanced copy of Circe by Madeline Miller, who is the author of The Song of Achilles. In Circe, we will return to the ancient world with this book that is inspired by Homer's Odyssey. And in comparison to The Song of Achilles, we will be seeing more of the gods. I attended the launch for the build-up season by Megan Jacobson, and at the launch they were giving out these little goodie bags that I think had some tea and a tarot card and some chocolate, as well as a copy of Macbeth by William Shakespeare. I believe that there were a few different covers that they were giving away, but I'm very happy with this one. I think it is absolutely beautiful. On the 12th of August, it was Love Your Bookshop Day, and I went to Kinokuniya, and if you spent over $30 there, you were able to go into a lucky dip and pick a random book, and the book that I ended up getting was The Outliers by Kimberly McCreight. I don't really know what this is about, but it says, imagine if you could see inside the minds of everyone around you. Your best friend, your boyfriend, your enemies. So obviously it's got to do with mind reading of some sort, something along those lines. If any of you have read this, I would be very curious to hear your thoughts on it. Speaking of Love Your Bookshop Day, I did go bookshop hopping on that day. So next I'll be sharing with you the books that I picked up then, because I did get some very, very beautiful books. I picked up this beautiful hardcover edition of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl, illustrated by Quentin Blake. This is one of the Roald Dahl books that I didn't actually read in my childhood. I did watch the movies for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and remembered enjoying them, so I thought I might pick up the book and actually read the original story. I also found this stunning edition, The Complete Alice by Lewis Carroll. Also those metallic red edges, just to die for. But this includes a foreword by Philip Pullman, as well as Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There, The Wasp in a Wig, which is a deleted scene from Through the Looking Glass, Lewis Carroll's poems and prefaces, and The Story of Alice. And it has illustrations in here as well. It is just like this beautiful, stunning book that I saw. My friend was just like, you have to buy it. So here we are. I also visited a couple of used bookstores, so I picked up Magic's Price by Mercedes Lackey. This is book 3 in the Last Herald Magic series. I have books 1 and 2 just under here that I picked up in a used bookstore when I was in America early this year. They didn't have any more of the books in the series at that store, so when I saw this one, which I didn't have, I decided to pick it up because now I've got more books in the series and I can kind of just marathon them. I also found The Immortal Prince by Jennifer Fallon. So I've been seeing a lot of the Jennifer Fallon books at book fairs and used bookstores, and I've always been drawn to them. I'm not sure if it's because of the covers or the spines or what, but I've just been really intrigued by them. And the book fair I went to a couple of months ago, I was going to pick up 2 of her books and didn't, and then like a month later I met up with Piera from Piera Ford, and she was talking about how she was reading some of Jennifer Fallon's books and really enjoying them. So I was just like, damn it, I should have gone them when I had the chance there, but alas I didn't. So when I did see the first book in the Tide Lords series, I thought I might give Jennifer Fallon a try and see how I like her books. The survivor of a hanging gone wrong claims to be the Immortal Prince, which is a Tide Lord, and I believe that these Tide Lords are immortal beings, the only record of which is from the Tide Lord Tarot, which is a parlor game. So Arcady is sent to go and investigate this man that claims to be the Immortal Prince. I also found a copy of Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel at the used bookstore as well, which I've been seeing popping up around here and there, have been hearing pretty good things about, and I believe that this is a sci-fi or alternate world book wherein a girl discovers this massive metallic hand. It's made of an incredibly rare metal, and I think that people start discovering other parts of this body or whatever it is. Not sure what else is involved, but like I said, I've been hearing pretty good things about it. After picking up that at the used bookstore, I went to Kinokuniya, where I also found the sequel, which was Waking Gods. I decided to pick it up because, hey, why the heck not? And these aren't super long books. I think they're only about 300 pages, so I thought that I might as well kind of read them back to back when I do get around to them. While I was at Kinokuniya as well, I picked up Shadow and Bone and Ruin Rising by Leigh Bardugo in the UK editions. Unfortunately, they didn't have Siege and Storm, nor did supported any other store that I visited, which was quite unfortunate. So eventually I will pick up Siege and Storm. But this is the first and third books in the Grisha trilogy, which I'm sure you guys have heard about, but it's a fantasy series set in a world that I think is inspired by Russia. I've heard pretty good things about this series and even more amazing things about the Six of Crows duology, which I will get to after reading these bad boys. More recently, I went to a book fair where they have just a bunch of books going for super cheap. I took my friend there for her birthday and picked up a few books myself, but the first one I have here is The Tale of Despereaux by Kate DiCamillo, and this is illustrated by Timothy Basil Irving. In here it has what I think is a perfect way to summarize this book: The Tale of Despereaux being the story of a mouse, a princess, some soup, and a spool of thread. I also picked up Under the Dome by Stephen King. I picked up another Stephen King book in August as well, which I'll get to in just a moment, but I'm sure you've heard me mention it in a couple of videos. But then I saw another Stephen King book and decided to pick this one up, partly because I've been quite interested in reading Under the Dome for a little while, and also this edition of it I think is really gorgeous. I love purple, it's my favorite color, so when I saw this I was just like, okay, that's the edition I'm taking. And it was $4, so not too bad at all. This is about an invisible dome that is placed over a small town. In doing so, it also kills and injures a few people, which is just lovely. But it follows the aftermath of this dome being placed over a town as resources start to run out, perhaps people start to turn on each other, and then there's also the mystery of who was responsible for putting this dome over a town and why. Obanewton by Isabel Carmody. This one was only $1, and one of my friends, this is like one of her favorite series of all time, if not her favorite series, so I thought I would pick it up. Aside from the fact that she loves it and she's named after the main character Elspeth, I haven't the slightest clue what this book is about. Like I said, $1, she raves. I picked it up. I also picked up The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton, which is set in the 1600s in Amsterdam. We follow Nella, who is the new bride of a wealthy merchant who, for a wedding gift, gives her a replica of their home. And it is to be furnished by a miniaturist, and I think their creations are particularly magical, something along those lines. I've heard pretty good things about this book. And now for the rest of the books, which were full priced. I also picked up The Muse by Jessie Burton, but this is actually the book that a couple of my girlfriends and I will be reading in September for our book club. To be quite honest, I don't actually know anything about the book and I really want to leave it that way. I want to dive into this one not knowing much at all, but I will be reading this one very soon, so you'll hear my thoughts about it in next month's wrap-up video. I also picked up The Watchmaker of Filigree Street and The Bedlam Stacks by Natasha Pulley. This is set in the 1880s in London. We follow Thaniel, who one day comes to his apartment to find a mysterious watch has been placed in his room. 6 months later, it's because of this watch that he is saved from being pretty much killed by a bomb. Thaniel decides to search for the person who left him the watch, and in doing so he meets Mori, an immigrant from Japan and the maker of the watch. This one blends history with some magical elements as well. I actually listened to this one on audiobook this month, so you'll get to hear some more of my thoughts on it in my upcoming wrap-up video. And The Bedlam Stacks is Natasha Pulley's newest release, and it's not related to The Watchmaker of Filigree Street. This is set in the 1850s when an ex-smuggler named Merrick is recruited in order to go on an expedition into Peru to find quinine, which is the treatment for malaria. I think that this one as well is also going to be a really nice blend between history and magic. We shall see. I haven't picked it up yet, but I have heard really great things about this book. Like I mentioned earlier, I did pick up another Stephen King book, and that one was The Gunslinger by Stephen King. The reason why I picked this one up is because of the movie that just came out about this, though from what I have heard it is quite different from the book, but I am still kind of thinking of getting to this one soon, pushing past the first book and then continuing on with the rest of the series, because I've also heard that the first isn't the greatest, but the rest of the series is amazing. So we shall see what I think. Anansi Boys by Neil Gaiman. This follows Fat Charlie Nancy, whose father recently dropped dead while on a karaoke stage. And his father wasn't just any typical human father. No, he was Anansi, the trickster spider god. Earlier this year I read American Gods, also watched the TV show, really enjoyed it as well, so I decided to pick up another of Neil Gaiman's works, Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken. Now, I read The Darkest Minds really soon after its publication, but I didn't continue on with the rest of the series for no real reason. I really enjoyed The Darkest Minds. I'm pretty sure at the time I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. I do already own a copy of In the Afterlight, but that was because I think if you pre-ordered the book through a website, you could receive a personalized signed edition of the book. So that's what I did, but I didn't have Neverfade, it didn't happen, so I decided it was about time that I finally picked this book up so that I can continue on and finish the series. I also picked up this graphic novel called My Favorite Thing is Monsters by Emil Ferris. How incredible are these illustrations? I'm really excited to pick this up. But doesn't this just sound amazing? So it's described as a murder mystery, a family drama, a sweeping historical epic, a psychological thriller about monsters. Honestly, I'm hooked. I don't need to know anymore, but I do really enjoy the illustrations. I also think it's quite cool how it's on ruled paper, so I think it's meant to kind of replicate a diary of sorts, perhaps the diary of the main character, not entirely sure. If you guys have read My Favorite Thing is Monsters, let me know what you thought of it. The last book that I picked up in August was Banned Books by Robert P. Doyle. This is the 2014 edition. I'm not entirely sure if they're coming out with any more editions of this. I think before the 2014 one, there was one in 2010, so perhaps they'll do another one. But the reason why I wanted to pick this up is because I borrowed the 2010 edition from my library. I just find it to be a really useful resource when kind of looking into banned books, because this is a pretty comprehensive list of the books that have been challenged and banned in the United States. Obviously there's more that have been banned elsewhere, but this one is just centered on the United States. That being said, it doesn't list every instance that a book has been banned or challenged because it only includes ones that have been reported. So there's obviously a lot more that go unreported. But if you're ever interested in participating in Banned Books Week and want to know which books have been banned so you can kind of raise awareness about it and about censorship, then something like this is very handy. Every year the ALA publishes a report on the most challenged and banned books. In addition to that, there are some more resources online, including, I think for the past maybe 10 years or so, there's infographics that do have more than just the top 10, I believe, as well as other lists including the top banned children's books or classics, but those lists are limited and this does have everything, which is why I decided to invest in it, because yay! So that concludes my August book haul. I'm really sorry that I didn't have time to kind of go a little more in depth talking about the synopses of all of the books, which is something that I do try to do in my book hauls, but I'm quite limited for time. I needed to record this, so I apologize that I wasn't quite as thorough as I usually am. Hopefully I'll have a little more time in September. I don't plan on buying quite as many books, so fingers crossed. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you very soon with a new video, but until then, I will talk to you in the comments. Bye! Shit. Ugh. Okay.